saw that.
Yeah, I signed that on Saturday.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I have turned on the recorder. The time is now 9:30 a.m. I'm going to call the meeting of the Venetian Community Development District to order. Today is Monday, October 24th, 2022. The first item on the agenda is the call to order / roll call. Those supervisors that are present are Rich Bracco, Steve Kleinglass, Rick McCafferty, Ernest Booker, and Ken Smahan. On behalf of District Management is myself, Belinda Blandon. District Cohen, Andy Cohen is present. District Engineer Rick Schoppeger is present. Field Manager Keith Livermore is present. General Manager of the River Club, Jeffrey Thomas, is present. We have Food and Beverage Manager Angela Cersei present. And on behalf of Vesta, we have Julie Cortina, Ginger Anzalone, as well as Roy Deary. We have representatives from Castle present. Good morning. We do have representatives from Castle present, along with Michael Rodriguez from Rosetta and Company.
Angela's not.
Yeah.
She's not here?
No.
I'm sorry. Okay. And for the record, we do have audience members present. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. We ask that everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please remove your hats.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And just for the record, supervisors, I am going to open up the line for Luciano so that he can dial in. He's asked if he could be present via phone. So I will do that while we take public comment. So we're going to move forward with public comment at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, we will limit public comments to 3 minutes per person. Our first speaker is Linda Cotero. Linda? Good morning.
Yeah, I'm trying to, it's not wanting to work.
Try this one.
There we go.
Thank you. I'm Linda Cotero, 274 Mar-a-Lago Drive. I am asking you to strongly consider retaining Vesta as our management company. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not the social committee. As someone who has been actively involved in the social and dining aspects of our club for many years, it is clear that their performance has significantly improved since their termination. Since Vesta executive Julie Cortina's arrival, a competent staff has been hired, specifically Jeff Thomas as GM, Stefan Franz as executive chef, and Angela Cersei as food and beverage manager. This has resulted in positive changes to dining room facility operations. The new staff members are carefully listening to residents' recommendations, are extremely open to suggestions, and are working to implement creative solutions and best practices for the overall betterment of our club. Retaining a new management company at this juncture now appears to have more risks than potential rewards. It will thrust the club into another transitional phase, which will undoubtedly take months to complete. In addition, there is no guarantee that the additional disruption will translate into success. The CDD should be commended for the decision to terminate Vesta. The situation at that time was becoming untenable. However, rather than give up and walk away, Vesta took that as a challenge. They have dramatically improved and are on the right path. In closing, please strongly consider retaining Vesta as our River Club management company. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bob Rufato.
Good morning, Bob Rufato, 326 Montaluna.
Nobody should be happy with the process that led us to the 3 amenity management bids you have reviewed today. Almost 6 months after telling Vesta we intended to replace them, we have little to compare. We are extremely fortunate Vesta accommodated our missteps. It's obvious we didn't know who was active in the market and who was interested in bidding this contract. This should have been easy. There are almost 600 CDD properties in Florida, and many are like us. We just don't know who they are or how they operate. While it's not easy to determine how these bids impact our budget, some things did stand out. Castle Management offers a lower management fee, but doesn't explain the proposed reduction in personnel costs. They were also just terminated by the POA. Rosetta includes a fee-laden third-party food and beverage service, but that budget's incomplete. The cost of liquor, which contributes significant revenue, is seemingly not recognized. Entering a multi-year contract like this could expose us to significant financial loss and disruption. Vesta's management fee seems to exceed the current budget. I don't know how you intend to proceed, but Vesta has performed admirably and worked hard to improve services. Their willingness to accommodate a protracted bidding process saved us considerable disruption and embarrassment. This should be recognized. I hope the board retains Vesta with a mandate to carefully analyze outside events and improve resident dining. We need a period of management stability to move forward on improvements, restore employee continuity, and rebuild the service levels that residents expect.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Our next speaker is Jill Pizarro. Jill?
Good morning, Jill Pizarro, 161 Portofino. I don't have a whole lot to add on to the excellent remarks from Linda and from Bob. I just want to add, I think that I was pretty disappointed that we didn't have some new bidders. I think that if the recommendations by Supervisors Smaha and Booker had been taken to construct the RFP a little bit differently, we may have gotten some additional results. So I think there may be some lessons learned there that we can learn in terms of how we do our RFPs. I was also, secondly, pretty disappointed that with the proposal that came in from Rosetta, as Bob mentioned, they seem to have forgotten again the cost of goods for the adult beverages on the proposal, which I think is not exactly confidence inspiring, I would say. And then finally, and very positively, I completely agree with Linda's and Bob's comments about how Vesta's been doing. I mean, we all know how unique we are. And I think Vesta has really stepped up to the challenge in terms of improving the operations. So I want to thank them and also thank them for, after everything they've been through, to put in a proposal for us, which I hope we very seriously consider. Thanks.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you. And our final speaker is Darlene Schimberg.
Good morning, everybody. I wanted to take the time to thank LMP for the speed in which they brought our community back to looking as normal as possible, considering the storm that we had. They have done an outstanding job of cleaning up debris and have started to secure those trees that can be saved. So thank you very much. However, I still don't like the tree in the roundabout, but I don't know what they're going to do with that. And I know that they're changing the landscaping there, so I'll see what happens with that one. On another note, this weekend, I was not able to get in touch with the gate. It kept saying the phones were down. And
Phone is down. Phone is down, and Comcast can't come out until tomorrow.
Okay.
So that happened, I think, on Saturday.
If there's an alternative of a way for us, since that's our security, if there's, and I know you don't like that word, but if there's another way for us to get in touch with the gate, because we had people coming into that, it would be nice to know that the residents should have an alternative to get in touch with them. I agree with Linda and Jill and Bob about Vesta. Please think hard, as I feel you would be doing our community an injustice again by not keeping Vesta at this time. They have done what we asked for and far more. If I had a vote on the board, it would be to keep Vesta. You need to keep in mind the desires of the residents. I was at the club for brunch on Sunday, and it reminded me of years ago. Busy, everyone having a good time, great service, and what gems we found in Angela, Julie, and Chef and Jeff. They visited tables, talked to residents, and made everybody feel at home. And isn't that what we want in our club? The way Harold used to make us feel back in the day. Let's keep the momentum going and not disrupt this club again. We have positive feedback and people like the staff. I don't think this club could take another hit by introducing a new company. And I'm gonna bring this up, and I know it's not a priority, but I really am still waiting for an apology from our engineer. I know that I haven't brought it up in the last couple of meetings because I didn't want to be redundant, but seriously, if it was one of you that this happened to, I think that you would want to have him apologize to the entire community, because there were a lot of names on that petition. And it was a direct insult to all of us. So this has to do with the pickleball courts, by the way, not anything to do with Vesta. So just keep that in mind. I mean, that is just pure courtesy. It's nothing else but that, and respect for the people that live here. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you. There being no further speakers, we're going to close out public comment at this time and move forward with our agenda. The next item on the agenda are the staff reports. Rick, do you have anything to report?
Should I take it on? Thank you, sir. Okay, the bank repairs that they attempted, I did reach out to the vendor, DJ with Aquagenics. DJ, the reason he didn't respond back was he was off for personal reasons, and now the hurricane hit, so I'm going to try to meet with him in the next couple of days to go over those 3 lakes and then clean it up. We've not paid them for anything yet. So after the last meeting, I went out to the outfalls on 2 of the 3. I think I sent you all the photo summary. So I'm waiting for the waters still to go down on the downstream side of that, because in 2 of the areas on lakes 2 and 4, the water level dropped almost 10 feet. And so I want to see what that did once that level goes back down.
Were there any obstructions with what you visited?
No, just there was a lot of vegetation out there that was kind of just, I mean, the weirs were probably 20, 25 foot long, and there was little vegetation there, but it was still coming over fine.
So can you conclude there was no obstruction? It was more of a volume of water?
It was flowing straight over top of everything. So there was no obstruction. It was going over the bank, over the skimmer. It was well over all of that. So now as it's coming back down and it's staying in the lake, it still goes under the skimmer up over the weir. So the obstruction was just a couple feet of a 20-foot, which we'll clean that up also then. So Keith sent me an email last week. There was this spill, the hydraulics spill over on Portofino. I don't get the address, but the way I treated that was just like we treated all the other vendors. He quantified it. I went through, I looked at the latest road assessment map, and we billing them 50% of the remaining life expectancy. And so that come up to $366.58. And I don't know if you forward that to them or not.
Well, I got told where to go, and I've been there, and I didn't want to go back, and this would just be we just have to give it to the attorney. So I'll forward all that to our attorney and let them.
Was this one of our vendors?
No, one of the houses at the end of Portofino had some mulch delivered, and they were taking it off of the forklift, and the forklift blew a hydraulic. They came out and did all they basically could, put some stuff down, but they didn't come back out to pressure wash it. And so I'm gonna have Dan pressure wash it. And when I called him, and he said, well, it must be nice living in, what was his word, in heaven, the way you are. And I was like, well, yeah, it is. And we like to keep it that way. So he said, well, we've done all we're gonna do. And I said, no, you still need to come out and pressure wash it, go to hell. So you're not gonna do anything. So I'll just make sure that Andy gets that.
We'll deal with it that way. Thank you.
The last thing, there was a couple emails, I know some of you were involved with that. One of the residents was concerned about the debris in the inlets. And I don't know if staff is available to, well, what really needs to do, it's like the floating bottles and, water bottles, milk bottles or whatever. So what really needs to happen, just pop the lid, get the fish net and just scoop them up. I don't know if staff could do that or not. So as far as any blockages, no, there's no real blockages to speak of. So it's just basically floating debris. And that's all I had.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question. Are we going to talk about or get a summary of what's going on with pickleball now? Or
I was gonna do that at the end.
For you, Chairman.
I'm gonna do that at the end.
Okay.
But you don't need me to stay around.
No, I have all the information on what.
Do you need the engineer to stay around?
No, I don't think so. You've gotten the video, you have all that information, so I'm just gonna give everybody an overview of what happened.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick.
Andy, do you have anything to report?
Just to update the board on a couple of items. One was we finalized the Welch contract. They weren't amenable to using our form, but we were able to utilize their proposal, and I prepared an addendum to work in some of the things that I thought were necessary. So we got to a good result there, and I believe it's been signed.
Yes.
So I'm sure that's getting scheduled. An update with regards to the tennis connection. The board will recall that I had reached out to our prior bond counsel to help with the refi, but we were unable to work forward with them. So you might also recall we had authority to retain a new bond counsel firm, which we did, Bryant Miller Olive. And I had a conference call with their tax attorney and bond counsel last week, and they are working on it again. As has been told to us the whole way along, they are good issues to pinpoint, being the split as well as the pro shop, but they also did not feel that they were insurmountable tasks. I've sent them information. Belinda and Carrie helped me with sending them some additional information. They're reviewing it, and I'll keep you posted. So,
Thank you.
those are the only items that I have, but I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Andy? No?
Thank you.
Jeff, do you have anything to report?
Good morning. I'm very happy to report that all of the new pool furniture is in a combination of both on-site and also a local storage facility. Excuse me. It's absolutely beautiful, and I think it's going to be a tremendous upgrade and addition to the new Tiki Hut installation. I don't want to step on your toes, Steve, but just a brief update on the Tiki Hut, October 24th being today. The granite countertops are being installed.
Hopefully.
Okay. Contingency.
And that, the center island has been prepped. It's all fine.
On Wednesday, November 2nd, the beverage equipment is scheduled for installation. On Thursday, November 3rd, the pavers surrounds are scheduled for installation. And then all of the other items on here are dates to be determined. Those are all pretty much in my control. And all of, we're going to be reviewing the TV installation at the conclusion of this meeting with Steve and Mr. Rafata, and come up with the best solution for that. And we're going to make every effort to ensure that we continue the process to a successful conclusion. Just to piggyback on Andy's comments, the tennis court resurfacing, the laser grading, it is on schedule, Welch's schedule for December the 19th. We anticipate reopening the courts on December 30th. There might be a little bit of latitude there, but we are on schedule. We're very happy about that. Both of the water fountains on the tennis courts have been repaired. There was a little bit of damage related to Hurricane Ian. Also, we're reviewing options on the installation of a pool gate solution, again with Steve and Bob Rofato, and then coordinate with Keith to facilitate not only security at the pool complex, but also to facilitate food and beverage service access to the resort pool area when we open a tiki hut. Handicap entrance door, the schedule has not been firmed up yet. Things have gotten a bit delayed as a result of the storm. And I'm very happy to report in reference to food and beverage and events, the Dueling Pianos event that was held a week ago Saturday on the 15th. We had 158 covers and recognized $7,142 in food and beverage sales. We have additional activities coming up. Halloween party scheduled for Saturday the 29th. Season opening / tiki hut grand opening celebration. Date is to be determined, contingent upon the conclusion of the project. Thanksgiving on the 24th, we anticipate doing between about 300 and 350 covers in 2 seatings. And we are also planning that same weekend over the holidays to do a dive-in movie or some similar concept, a family-oriented activity featuring cookout items and lots of fun. Ladies luncheon, Toys for Tots on December the 7th. December 9th will be our holiday dinner dance. The 16th will be an ugly sweater party at the resort pool. Christmas brunch with Santa and gingerbread house decorating on the 18th. And the conclusion of this year will be the New Year's Eve gala. And the band that is scheduled for New Year's Eve performed here last Saturday night, and they were awesome. Banquets and catering, the new banquet and catering packages near completion to include specifications for minimums, guarantees, deposit schedules. We're initiating reconciliations on all banquets to quantify profitability. And the new dinner menu was introduced on Wednesday, October 12th. And all of the comments and reviews that I've received have been very, very favorable.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you, Jeff. I have one question. You said that the pavers should be complete. Okay, when you say pavers, is that inclusive of that area as you enter the pool area to the left?
Yes, sir.
That's going to be cleared out?
Yes, sir.
And, okay, very good.
And then LMH is going to reconfigure the beds in that area, in the pool surround, and bring them up to some beautiful
Have
standards.
we gotten a proposal from them yet? Bill was supposed to be here today with it.
I haven't seen,
Okay.
Well, those are for the bids.
LMP.
LMP, I'm sorry.
Everything.
Just one question.
Yes, sir.
I see the basketball hoop is gone. Is another one on order? That seems to be very popular.
It is, yes, it is, sir.
Okay, cool.
Just a side note, the inspection, you have to have an inspection before we can open up out there.
I will follow up on that, yes, sir.
And I can help you with Jennifer on that.
Okay. I do have.
She did the pre, now they do
Yes.
the post.
I have a copy of that in my files. So I'll-
And you want, we're on a roll here, you want to mention the POA offices.
Yes, they are completed or really close.
99%.
Okay. They've done a great job in there, and it's going to be a wonderful addition.
Yeah, you can start moving in. There's just some other touch-up they have to do.
Thank you.
You better get those keys out of the locks before somebody else gets them. Those two offices are keyed to a separate key system. They're not keyed to anything that's CDD property. But we're gonna have to get a copy of those keys, I guess, for security purposes, so that we do have a copy.
It looks great. I think the drop looks good.
Yeah, there's still some touch-up that needs to be done, but
Is there an issue with the phone, getting phone service in? So that's
something on the
we
POA.
can handle.
Yeah, the outlets are there. I mean, it's wired for it.
Yes.
Sebastian is a big guy,
Yes.
so he wants his phone in there. I'll just tell you that in advance.
We'll put a desk on his back to move.
Any other questions for Jeff? No? Okay, perfect. Keith, do you have anything to report?
Good morning. Yeah, let's review a little bit on how we're doing with the trees and standing them, 35 of them back up. They worked over the weekend quite a bit, and you can see a lot of them are being put back up. We still have, I think there's probably 25 more to go, trying to get them back up right. When you all leave, please go by the tree and put your hands on it and say, live. And that, I think it's trying. Okay. So, and I know that it was doing great until it wasn't. So, if we can just give it a little time, I think it stood back up now straight.
There is one other tree like that on Padova, and it suffered just like our tree did. It's got almost all its leaves were knocked off, so hopefully both of them will survive.
A lot of wind damage. So there's a lot of cleanup still to go. LMP is doing, we've heard, doing a phenomenal job out there, getting it taken away. We still have some over on the Othello Wall. I woke up in the middle of the night going, oh, there's a wall that I have to go look at. That wall has been compromised, and I got to find somebody to put the block back up and get that all squared away and go with that. But there's some trees there that need to come down as well. Other than that, we're just pond fish kills. Bring you up to date on that. Solitude is out and working on cleaning up those areas. When I was told about the major fish kills on Friday afternoon, it was too late to get them out here to get anybody to some of these places. And nature has taken its, the birds have eaten themselves stupid. And so but that, nature took care of a lot of it for us and and so it's going to, they're out there doing it. They'll be here all day if that's what it takes to get it done. All right. But
Keith, we've had emails that looks like an oil spill, and we know it isn't an oil spill. What is the covering on the water of some of the ponds?
I don't know. It could be, from the fish. I'll have to go look at that. I don't know what, and Solitude is here. So, I'll get them we'll take a look. If you can just let me know what ponds we're talking about.
The one behind my house, but that's owned by the association, so I don't know how that all works.
Okay.
That's one I know of. And there was one email that came across where somebody was asking a question about that.
Well, fish oil is good for you, so it's probably from all the dead fish oil across the fleet.
Okay.
Keith, there was a note from a resident claiming that the golf course maintenance is blowing debris into the lake. Any truth to that? Or?
Yes, one pond did happen, and I had to talk with Kelby about that, and he is, rectifying. And his situation, they're going through a lot of what's happening here is trying to keep people and keep them trained. And so every other week, it's like you have somebody new, and if they find a shortcut that they can just go and blow it out rather than blow it back and pick it up. That's what they did. And he understands that that's against the rules, that we can't do those things. So Kelby's all over it.
Okay, I figured he would be.
Yep.
Also, we're dealing with outside contractors in a lot of
Times,
cases as
yes.
well, and they just want to get their job done.
Yep.
But, okay, thank you for getting on top of it. Appreciate it.
Pete, on Laurel Avenue, by Laurel Road rather, by our development on the sidewalk, wires are down and creates somewhat of a dangerous situation. I know I walk there. Are we responsible for that cleanup?
That wire that was the wire you dealt with.
Yep.
That was, there's one on each side,
Right.
one on the left and one on the right.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a Florida Light power wire to the overhead streetlights. And it took you almost a week to get them to kill those wires because LMP wouldn't clear the debris. So they know about it. It's a matter of, I suspect, priorities.
Yeah, I mean, their wires aren't live now.
Okay.
They've been cut and they're just there. And so, it's a low priority like some of our streetlights. They're still down. FPNL knows about them. We've called 3 times but they know about it, low priority.
Those light poles out there where those wires are hanging from,
They're bending.
they're bending, so.
But again, those are all FPL. right,
Yep.
Materials, so it's on them.
Yeah, and
But
the
as
priority is.
it's not at the top of the list. There's a lot of other stuff.
But it's an impediment to the sidewalk for people walking and all. We have some liability, so I would think,
Is it our sidewalk?
yes.
Is it on sidewalk out on Laurel Road?
Well, their borders are,
No, but is it in the
I don't
right
think
of way or is it on our land?
well,
I don't think,
Because we don't take care of it, right?
no, I don't think that's our
our
sidewalk.
people don't clean
It's
that
outside of the.
area county.
It's a county, yes, it's a county.
I don't know what I'm looking at, but.
I guess we haven't meets and bounds this description of it, so.
Well,
You definitely.
Did they tell you
Outside
it
the.
wouldn't be till after the first of the month at least?
They don't.
Florida Power Line?
For what?
They don't.
For
wires straighten the poles.
the poles?
On Laurel?
Oh, on Laurel, I didn't talk to them.
They don't.
Yeah.
You get kind of a cue and a voicemail and,
Exactly.
yeah.
I was able to speak with a representative on a couple of occasions, and we were finally able to.
We were anxious because LMP wanted to clear that because you couldn't walk there. And LMP kept saying, not until FPL clears it.
Thanks, Keith.
My pleasure.
Any other questions? On my end, I do have a few things. I have been receiving invoices from LNP for hurricane recovery efforts. The initial invoices, I rejected them all because the rates for labor for storm cleanup was incorrect. They've corrected the majority of the invoices. I did hold an invoice that included the tree staking, as the staking has not been completed. There are only 3 done as of last week. So once that work is completed, I will release payment for it. LMP was advised. This is a tedious process because we have to make sure that all of the invoices include your costs correctly. So the majority that were revised, I have proceeded and processed.
Okay, fine.
So the board should be aware of that. Other invoices so far, mailbox repairs, those are minor, nothing major, but those I've processed as well. We do need to address at some point the removal of the stumps, but I'm expecting that that's going to take a while to complete as well. So we are looking probably 2 to 3 weeks, but I'll have a discussion with Bill Giff about that. Other than that, I mean, the community looks very good compared to what I've seen down in Fort Myers, Naples, and Cape Coral.
They're doing a spectacular job.
Yeah. Where are these being charged?
These are going to come out of the general fund. So we will have a separate line item that will just be for hurricane recovery efforts so that we can track all of the invoices that are paid.
Is any of this potentially FEMA reimbursable?
We have applied for federal assistance. We hope that it will be, but we're not sure. So It's going to take some time
Sure.
before we get any information or any contact from FEMA on this. But we applied probably 3 days after the storm, so all of our applications are in. We're just waiting for a response. So this is going to be very expensive, which I'm sure everyone knows. The leaning trees do need to be addressed sooner rather than later. So I'm hearing that there are issues with obtaining supplies and materials for staking at this point. I'm not sure if LMP has everything they need to move forward, but I will double check with Bill Gibb and see where we are, and then give the board an update.
Okay.
Other than that, there is.
We can't hear you, Belinda, sorry.
There is a quarterly audit for our website. Pretty much, I just submit these so that the board gets to see that our website is compliant. We don't need any action on that. And just as a reminder, we do have a meeting scheduled for Monday, November 14th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. Is everybody going to be present for that meeting, or will there be travel involved?
I'm here.
So what is my status for that meeting?
Second Tuesday,
Right, you're still on the board.
I will be here.
and we don't need in quorum purpose still? Is it still in place?
What's the date? We need
14th.
person?
physically present.
Oh, okay. So we do need a physical quorum at this point.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay.
I'll still be here.
All right, so hopefully we'll have some more information as to where we are with a lot of the billing for hurricane recovery. And if not, I will double check with LMP to see when they expect to get all of their invoices in, so that we do have some sort of a number as to where we are.
That will be your last meeting, Steve. You will not be. But when do we meet again? It's 2 weeks after the election, so the 22nd would be your last day, so. So yeah, even if we meet at the end of November, and I'm not sure we are, that will be your last meeting.
Right.
Linda, do we have any order of magnitude kind of estimate at this point, or is it too soon?
It's too soon. You just approved over $38,000 in between tree staking and removal, so if I had to estimate, maybe 120, 140,000, but I'm not sure yet. November, we only have the 14th meeting.
Because of Thanksgiving.
Right.
Yeah. Other than that, are any questions for me?
Thank you, Belinda.
Thank you. Are you gonna give an update, Rich, on the reserve committee recommendations on your supervisor comments?
I can go over it then.
Okay.
Supervisor comments, yeah.
All right, perfect. Okay, so I think we can forego the recovery efforts update, item number 5A, unless there's anything that the board wants to discuss or add, and move into item number 5B.
I have a little bit from the landscape committee, which
Sure.
kind of falls into this. Because there was so much damage to, because there was. Am I on? Yeah. Because there was so much damage to the plantings in the various monument pots, the suggestion was made to just remove everything at this point, leave them empty. And then at Christmas time, maybe plant some poinsettias in the entrance pots, the pots near the entrance. No.
The main entrance, or
Pardon me?
the main entrance, or?
Yes, the main entrance. The LNP has offered to replace the plants that the deer ate around the tree with copperleaf and a circle of copperleaf and a circle of plumbago around the roundabout tree. This will be replaced on their dime, so there's no invoice for that. The flower rotation was scheduled to be done soon. The suggestion was to do it later so that they can finish the staking, the removal, etc. The recommendation from the committee is either coleus or begonias, depending on which are available when the rotation gets done. That's already in the budget, so it's kind of a done deal. And then the last thing, the mulch, we pushed back to December for the same reason, so that the removal and stump removal and all that can be finished first, so. Okay? I guess that's storm removal, kind of related.
Any other items?
We want to get 5C out of the way?
Oh, sure, we can do that.
We can, so we can jump to 5C, which is the consideration of the affordable golf cars of Venice proposal for a golf cart, which is behind tab number 3 for your review. There were 2 proposals actually presented by Keith for the replacement of the cart. The first one was from Affordable Golf Cars of Venice, and the second one was from Everglades Equipment Group.
Significant difference between the two prices. Affordable has been very responsive in this community, and I would have no problem recommending that we go with Affordable for this purchase.
So this is a reserve item slated for 2023, but the allocation for the replacement is $6,425.
Yeah, it's about half. But the other half will come in 5 years, maybe we get more life out of it. Now, Keith, how many sets of clubs can we get on the back of that?
4.
Okay.
Yeah, mine goes right there on the end, so it's good.
Have to take turns for sunshine
Yeah.
issues.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal from Affordable Golf Cars in the amount of $11,500.
One second.
Any further discussion?
Only to confirm that the price of these things has skyrocketed over the last year. So, the price didn't seem unreasonable.
No, not compared to what I was looking and getting, different quotes from, that was used ones at that price.
Call the question.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
We are going to move back to item number 5B, which is the consideration of the proposals received in response to the RFP for amenity management. This is behind tab number 2. Mr. Chairman, would you like to lead this discussion?
Sure. First, I'd like to thank Ken Smaha for putting together a cost comparison between Vesta, Rosetta, and Castle. I think that was very helpful for everybody. You did a good job with that. I hear what the residents are saying, and I think some of what Linda Cotero said kind of resonates with me. Vesta has stepped up since they were given a cancellation letter. It's a shame that it had to come to that, but what it shows is that they can do the job. If I want to say when your feet are held to the fire or whatever, we were in a really tough situation here for quite a while. It looked like a revolving door. We couldn't keep help. Things seem to have improved. And I think, Julie came in May, and there's been a dramatic improvement since then. I've had many conversations with Julie. And one of the things that sticks in my mind is that when we spoke about the termination of the contract, be it September 30th or be it December 31st as we move along, she said, I'm working 100% until the last day. I'm not going to back off because we could be out of here in 2 weeks or something like that. There has been a marked improvement. No one can deny that. What do the rest of you feel?
Let me just interrupt for 1 second. I'm sorry. I meant to do that before your comments, but I just wanted to remind the board that in the RFP that we did this time, we took out the evaluation criteria.
Right.
So we are not bound by doing our score sheets like we had done in the past. So you have a little bit more latitude. So I just wanted you to keep that in mind during your discussion process.
And the RFP did include the ability for companies to present offers by bringing in other vendors
Yes,
to
it
be
did.
part of the service,
Yes, it
which
did.
is something that Ernest had wanted, and Ken had wanted, so that was included
Yes, it was.
in the RFP, very definitely was included in there.
Sorry, thanks.
We did only have 3 companies respond.
Even though we spent a fortune on advertising, because Carrie and Belinda advertised from Tampa to Naples, and it was not inexpensive.
So we spread a very wide net this time.
Including Demand Star.
Yes, and the online service as well.
If we spread such a wide net, how come we only caught 3 fish?
Well, was it the preparation of the proposal or how it was presented?
I don't have the answer. I mean, we certainly put it out there. A lot of intervening factors could have come into play. Don't forget, we had a hurricane in the middle there.
I'm not gonna forget that.
So a lot of people had other priorities than putting together a response to an RFP. You know, I knew when that happened that it might cut down on the responses that we would receive, but it's just guess. I don't, you know, I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, are we going to permit the representatives from the submitting or responses?
They're here to answer questions, Ernest. They've given their presentations, we've heard them all. So they're here to answer questions if you have individual ones. We have folks from Rosetta are over there, Castle is on the right side, and Vesta is in the front. So if you have a question, the folks are here to answer any questions that you may have. But we are not going to have presentations again.
Well, that's what you decide.
We've already had it, yeah.
Well,
In conjunction with Belinda, we spoke about this, and there was,
I just never seen a process like this where you ask people to make submissions and they're present, and then we just say, well, hey, move on with the agenda and not permit them to do any type of brief summary of their experience and skills.
well, how does the rest of the board feel? Do you want to hear from the presenters? All 3 of them are here?
I
Or
think it's
have you
important
already
enough.
heard from them?
I think it's important enough that we give them their time to speak.
I have questions for
Questions?
each of them.
Sure.
You know, honestly, I don't know, unless they have something more or different to say, I don't feel the need for a formal presentation, because basically, they just submitted the same
Correct.
package.
And that was my reason for saying, we really don't need a presentation, we just had one. The package is basically the same, but the dates changed. But the same thing.
Yeah,
But
Other than
it's up to
questions.
you as a board, you know, I know of nothing legally that requires it or doesn't require it. So it's up to you as a board as to how you want to proceed.
Well, for example, for Rosetta, in the first presentation, they didn't have the cost of the alcohol. This presentation still doesn't have the cost of the alcohol. It totally, you know, why wasn't that changed, Michael? I'm surprised.
Well, before you
Well,
vote,
I mean, if we're gonna ask questions, let's ask the questions.
No,
Well,
but
no,
let's
let's
decide on the
decide.
procedure.
you need to decide on a process.
Let me have a shot at this. Perhaps rather than what we're deeming a presentation, maybe if each of the people that took their time to come here want to make a brief statement of sorts without getting into a formal presentation, and maybe you could set a time limit on how much time they could have.
15 minutes?
It's up to you.
I think that's only fair.
It's important enough.
They've done their diligence to come here.
Okay, fine.
I think we ought
Give
to.
us a chance to ask them questions.
Okay.
Rather than bouncing around.
Start at the top of the list then?
Sure.
Okay. We have representatives from Vesta here, and how about if we limit for all 3 of the presenters, just to be fair, we limit it to 15 minutes? Is that
Including questions and answers.
No, keep them to 15 and then the question.
the questions would come later, but are you okay with the 15-minute presentation?
That's
more than
enough in our.
What about Castle? You good?
Yes.
Okay. Rosetta, you good? Okay.
So we're gonna start with.
And by the way, last time they left the room, when the other one was in the room, so do you want us to do that again, or?
It's a public meeting, we can't force anybody to do that, but if they choose to, that's up to them.
Do you want to take a break before you get started?
Yes.
so that you,
Yes.
we don't
Okay,
take a
fine.
break in between?
All right, fine.
Okay, so
Fine.
why don't we take a 10-minute break before you get started?
Fine.
And then are you gonna start with Castle or
No, I'm
alphabetical?
gonna
Okay. So we are back on the record at 10:33 a.m. and we are going to begin the presentations with Castle. Fiona, good morning.
Good morning. So, as opposed to do another presentation, I'm not gonna do that. I heard the comments of the residents, and I think my guidance is, if the board feels the same way as the residents, we're happy to answer any questions. You saw our proposal last time, nothing really changed in the proposal, but it sounds like Vesta has done an unbelievable job, and kudos to them to getting things back in track. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend making a change for what it's worth based on everything I've heard, but I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. Yes, sir.
I guess I was a little surprised that nothing changed in the presentation. So my primary question is around the original proposal fees and staffing fees.
Yes.
That given that this was done last spring and so much continues to change in the job market, do you think that these rates of pay are still appropriate for 2023?
Yes, for now. I mean, there's always going to be a range, especially on your management staff. So on the lower end, we're very comfortable. On the general manager, that one has changed, probably dramatically going up, and we're seeing the labor market loosening now, which is good. So we're starting to see prices come back down a little bit.
Well, I know, like with the food and beverage staff, it's been difficult finding them, retaining them. So I noticed you had 5 cook positions, no chef or sous chef per se. I guess I just had the same questions. I was just surprised. And you know the market better than I do.
Yeah, and I think Jason can speak to that too. I remember that came up last time, why we didn't have the sous chef, and so I can have Jason speak to that. But yes, we are confident in the pricing that we gave.
Okay. You talked about your Royal Service standards and KPIs. Can you talk a little bit about what it is you measure and how you measure them?
So KPIs from a client standpoint, there are some standard things we measure from the corporate end. So Kathy Grimaldo is our Director of Quality Assurance, and she's looking at a list of things. Everything from how we are organizing your files, your inspections from a property standpoint, kitchen inspections, things like that. And that would be more from what I call the corporate end. So we have some standard things that we're looking at. For the KPIs, what we like to do is meet with the board and actually come up with what's important for you as a community from a KPI standpoint. So that could be, response from residents as far as service levels, attendance for events. It could be number of events that you have. There's any different level of things that we could do. It could be turnover of staff. We could measure that. So we would sit down and come up with what's important to you guys. And typically on those KPIs, they would change throughout the year. So we start with the agreed upon list. And then if we're, everything is going well and we keep hitting that over and over and over again, typically we'll say, okay, well, why don't we take that one out? Because that one's not an issue anymore. Let's measure something else.
Recently, you're finished with the POA here, and I've had residents say to me, well, why would the CDD board consider a company that the POA has just terminated with? Any response to that kind of question?
Yeah, I think that is a fair question, and I
know it's 2 different things, but
No, but definitely a fair question. I can say that with confidence, we didn't have any complaints from residents for the time that Melissa was here as the manager. And I don't think even the POA board would say that there was an issue. Very similar to Vesta, there was a concern. We acted quickly, and we're very disappointed that we weren't selected to retain, the business. I do think there's a lot of different reasons for that, one of them being partially financial. But we've been a partner for the POA for 12 years, and I think that throughout that time, even former members of the CDD board would speak very positively of their experience with Castle.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Fiona?
Do you think having the remaining little more than 2 months is enough time to get everything up and running? In other words, can you hit the street running on January 1st?
60 days would be the minimum. We talked about that, I think that last time we were here. Yeah, 60 days is your minimum. We would prefer to have at least 90 days, but yes, we could do it in 60 days.
Did you familiarize yourself with our tennis operations here? Yeah, because I know you have Tennis Pro and that's it, basically. You think that would suffice our needs here?
I think obviously you need the Tennis Pro, but no, typically what happens with tennis, as in our other communities where we have tennis and pickleball, the Tennis Pro would work with the team here on site to come up with, lifestyle type events for tennis to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the residents. But to just say, no, we're just gonna have a Tennis Pro and that's, that person's gonna just operate independently, that wasn't the intent of the message in the proposal.
I note also that you have 9 servers for food and beverage. You think that, first of all, did you examine our operations here?
Yeah, to the best of our ability. And we think that 9 is the right number. Those servers would float in and out between different facilities, whether it's banquet event, that type of stuff, some part-time, some full-time. But I feel confident that's probably close to the right number. Not having worked here before, I can't bank on it 100%, but I can tell you we're pretty close.
I wish we had 9.
And you will.
Okay.
And I just have one more question on the point of sale system. You say basically that's responsibility of the community.
Sure.
Do you offer any? Do you suggest some?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah, no, absolutely. POS systems are very simple and very nuanced in the same respect, right? Depends on what you want out of it. From a board, you want a cash register that's tracking sales and transaction and that type of stuff. From an operational standpoint, depending upon how deep you want to go, we talked earlier about KPIs. Every single one of those systems can give you as much data as you want, as quickly as you want.
Yeah.
It's really a matter of what you want to pay in order to do that. There are systems like Club Essentials, which is probably the top of the line in Cadillac, that if you're familiar with it, it can manage everything on your property. Tea times, massages, foot rubs, sample sales, whatever you want it to do. Or you can drop down into just a traditional food and beverage POS system like a Toast, which is old Micros driven. It's their newest version of that. And that gets you financially coming in, it's a whole lot more appetizing, no pun intended. But it does all of the things you need in order to operate food and beverage. So when I say it's a matter of what the community wants, what I really want to know is what are you hoping to get out of it? Is it a one-stop shop where it manages everything on property or specifically dialing into food and beverage?
Well, the technology's changed so much. When you think about staffing, when you think about service levels, you go to restaurants now and they've got pads in their hands and they order and you can check out.
Right.
It's amazing what's changed. So the question to me becomes, and I don't know enough about the cost differential.
Sure.
We talk about Club Essentials here. And, what's average and what's on the higher end? Like annual cost.
Yeah, so great question. So Club Essentials, because of its mass and what it does, is going to be higher on the initial end. And I would say, just to give you kind of a ballpark, you're looking at about $25,000 to set it up, and then monthly fees somewhere probably around $5,000 to $6,000. But it does everything for you. So again, depends on what you want. A Toast, depending upon how many pieces of hardware you get. So the handhelds, all those things cost a little bit of money. We're setting up a property right now that is probably not quite as grand in scale as this is, but close to it. And I think we're in it for about $6,500 for the year and about $800 a month in subscription fees.
I don't know, Jeff, do you have any idea what we're paying now?
What system do you have? What system are you currently running?
Pardon me?
What system are you currently?
We're running Easy Suites right now, and we also incorporate Club Essentials.
Yeah, Easy Suites is, and I've got a combination of those two on several different properties. Easy Suites is normally very good with the golf side of things. Club Essentials can pick up that component. As a matter of fact, we just spoke with another property with the same dynamic. Easy Suites on the CDD golf side, Club Essentials on the club side and the restaurant side, and we're marrying them together. We're migrating everything to Club Essentials because they have the ability to manage that. Easy Suites, all POSs are kind of the same, and everybody has their own preference on what they like. My experience with Easy Suites, it's complicated. Their service is not very good. Their tech support is not very strong. You spend a lot of time in line. Because it's a bit antiquated, there's a lot of different moving parts. When you get into more of a Club Essentials, it's more advanced. And so therefore it does a lot of those things behind the scenes, and their support is much better because of it.
I think we're seeing issues with Easy Suites on the accounting side.
One was just determined yesterday, as a matter of fact.
For the record, that's exactly why the other people are moving off. It doesn't manage the accounting component. Club Essentials is accounting software. It's accounting software that manages POS. Easy Suites is POS that happens to do a little bit of accounting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Am I ready to ask a question?
No. Do we have any?
No.
Yeah, right.
Good. Do you have another question?
Everybody satisfied? Any other
Yes.
questions? Ernest? Yes?
Yep, thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you all,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, the Rosetta folks will come in.
Do you want us to stay until you're done with everybody, or what would you recommend?
It's really up to you.
We'll contact.
But we'll contact you either way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, board. How you doing? In case you don't remember my name, Michael, this is Greg. So once again, we want to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to be here and present our presentation. Our proposal really hasn't changed. It's the same. We would, if selected, we would team up with Sterling, and they would manage the restaurant. Obviously, Tennis Connections is already here, so they would just remain in place. As far as the staff is concerned, if we're very particular about who we hire. However, if there were Vesta staff that wanted to remain in place and they're the best qualified, we would also keep them. So we wouldn't necessarily do a wholesale change. After listening to the remarks earlier, it's clear that Vesta has improved and their game has stepped up. And if the board wanted to keep Vesta here, we would be in support of that. Obviously, we've been here for years. Keith, Belinda, myself, Greg, Luciano. We want what's best for the Venetian. So if you decide on keeping Vesta, that's your choice, and we would honor that. Just as Mr. Rocco mentioned earlier, there's a reason why you got into this position. So hopefully they've overcome that. And if ever anything comes up again, we would obviously be here and we would assist the Venetian any way possible. Now, Greg, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't. I just think that you have a great staff, and Belinda from our company, Keith certainly has been fantastic, I believe, for you. So, we're all part of the same family, all part of the same company. So you would get the same elevated service from our division as you do from the other two.
How many clubs or CDDs or whatever do you guys organize for what we're looking for with tennis and dining and all of that? Or ballpark?
Well, we don't have any restaurants of this magnitude, but again, we're not really, we're bringing in Sterling for that.
Right.
Tennis program wise, we don't have any tennis programs as large as this one, although various facilities do have their tennis courts. So I would say maybe one other property that has probably as vibrant of a activity up in Pasco County that would match this.
We have managed one in Hillsborough County, Harbor Bay, a few years ago, and we managed that for several years. A cafe, not as large as the restaurant here, a hybrid tennis program, but that was a couple years ago.
Have you brought Sterling into any other communities that you service?
No, this is the first. This would be the first.
Why did you pick them as opposed to a more local restaurateur or?
Well, actually, interesting, where one of our office buildings is located, we had offices in, they ran a cafe right next door. So that's how I met them and found out what they do, and as part of their enormous company. They do Marlowe's, which is a big brand, several out of Atlanta. That's where they were come out of. So just, talking to them, being next door on lunch and all that. So that's how we kind of got that relationship going.
Okay.
Have you researched Sterling? Because, I went through their background as well as the operations on the internet, and it's somewhat problematic, okay? They got really 2 stars out of 5. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not aware of that.
And they're basically out of Atlanta. And they serve a different kind of market than our residents. It's really casual food, much more casual than what we're used to here. I said, were you aware of that?
Well, I know they do a variety of different type operations, restaurants. They do have a couple cafes, smaller type cafes in the area, but I didn't look deep into their company.
I did, and the nearest one is in Tampa area. Yeah. So you have no, I'm sorry. Now, have you collaborated with, say, Tennis Connection elsewhere? Or will this be a first impression?
I have not collaborated with Tennis Connection per se in any other facility, but Dave and I go way, way back. I was a tennis professional myself, so we go way back in the day. So I've known Dave for many, 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 many years.
And I have to thank you for introducing them to us.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Because
But we go back many years, many, many, many years.
just an aside, I used to get average 15 to 20 complaints a week about tennis. Now I have 10, 20 compliments a week about tennis. Complete reverse.
That's great.
You're as good as your last game.
Yeah, that's just true.
Keep that in mind.
Hey, wait, with all the snowballs, snowbirds.
But Dave and I have talked about collaborating for a long time. So this was the first opportunity that came along.
Well, I will say that you guys, I consider are the best and most experienced in providing district services. And we're quite pleased with your staff here and all. and I note the background of Luciano as it relates to customer service and all. I researched that as well. So,
Good.
quite pleased with the other services you provide. That's all I have.
We're very pleased with our staff as well. I've heard some wonderful things about Keith, the way he handled himself after this recent storm, and we're very proud of him.
He, as well as Belinda, and they overcame all odds and stayed focused, and very impressed.
So we are very thankful for having both of them here. Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Great job.
I have no question.
Any other questions for Rosetta folks?
My only question would be, if we were to go with Rosetta, and we continue with Rosetta as our management company, putting all our eggs in one basket, what's the advantage of that? I'm not gonna ask you what the disadvantage is, because that's not your job to tell me, but what would be the advantages of having both? Is there any big advantage?
I would say the advantage is that you know us. We're, like you mentioned earlier, we're a family, and we would continue to operate in that fashion. As far as we would try to maybe combine some of the positions here with field service manager and maybe the general manager. That could possibly be something we can think about. Obviously, we would rely on board direction for that. But it's just one family. I don't know if when you put it like that, eggs in one basket, it doesn't sound great. But I think
I didn't mean it to sound negative, just lack of a better term.
And communication probably as well. We're all in the same company. We could communicate better.
That's fair.
And what about, we're looking at January 1, would your company be able to be ready by then with us? That's about 70 days, I guess, thereabouts.
Yes.
Right. We would definitely be ready. As far as getting the right hires in there, and as I mentioned, if Vesta staff, if they were available, and we would certainly consider keeping some of the staff here as well.
I don't have any more questions.
Anybody else have any questions?
I don't have a question, just a comment, observation for you. If you run into this situation and you bring in a company, a third party, to Ernest's point, a little more research probably would have been helpful. Even more importantly, recognizing going from spring to today, an opportunity to answer questions that came up the first time. I think you missed that opportunity, knowing that there were errors in the P&L that Sterling presented. To me, I was just shocked that that wasn't addressed. So just on a learning curve basis, pay attention to the details.
Yeah, that was page 48 in both proposals.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Thank you.
Is that why we can hear?
I think
Steve, I got the email.
I'm sorry?
I got the email.
Oh, good.
I looked at it. I already submitted it.
Okay, great. How much, I'll catch up with you. I'm curious what we paid before,
I'll have to fill it out.
because there was a cap on it. There was,
I'll have to look at it with the contract.
looked like an awful lot of money.
What I'll do is, once it's ready for my approval, I'll go in and submit the contract.
good morning again.
Hello.
How are we on?
You're right.
I hate to have my back to everybody, but I do believe it's appropriate to address the board. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Roy Deary with Vesta Property Services. On behalf of my team, Julie, Heather, Ginger, Jeffrey, and the rest of us, it's a privilege to be here. We have been preparing for weeks to actually provide a formal presentation like folks have done in July. We received, information late last week that that wasn't going to be necessary. I'm going to try to focus on a couple of the key things that we would have presented, and believe it or not, we'd actually been working on a video that we think really tells the story well, really focuses on the staff. Very gratifying to hear the comments from your fellow residents this morning. And personally, although I've been nominated to do our speaking right now, personally, I take no credit for the progress we've made. It's all them, it's all the team. I'm grateful to be engaged with them and be a part of the team, but it's all that credit goes to them. So to get to our points, we just really want to summarize what we want to say in terms of our value that we think we provide for Venetian. And we put a lot of effort into our proposal, especially that executive summary, that first page, to try to concisely tell the story of what's transpired over the last 18 months or 21 months. Some of that came up again in July when I was here, and we don't necessarily need to go through all that unless you want to during questions and answers. But in terms of our value for Venetian, I'll just read these real quickly. I think one of the core features of our value is the fact that you do have an existing relationship with us. There's really no unfamiliarity, and there won't be a learning curve if you retain us, and I think some of the residents have commented on that. Secondly, we do have longstanding experience in the industry and a deep presence in the marketplace. There's definitely value in that. Third, we bring multidisciplinary expertise in club management, food and beverage, lifestyle, and finance and accounting, all under one umbrella. Fourth, we are very focused on operating efficiency, but we try to combine that with resident satisfaction. I think there's a balance there. We may never know exactly where that perfect balance is, but we just want you to hear us loud and clear that we do care about operating efficiency. And if there's ways to do things from a more cost-effective standpoint, save the district money, we'd love to do that for you. And we will continue to strive to do that. And then last, I think the management fees in your proposals are self-evident. We feel like we're competitive, maybe in a mid-range, and we also think our burden rate is competitive. So here's our commitment to you, 5 supervisors and the rest of the district. We will continue to bring a long-term view with a desire for a long-term successful relationship. I think some of the residents have touched on that I don't think in general any of us shy away from change, but there's definitely value in stability and a long-term commitment. We have that. I think, Rich, you summarized it best with Julie's attitude. Whether we were going to be here for 3 weeks or 5 months, we were going to just try to do the best job we can for you, and that'll always be our commitment to you, regardless of the outcome of this today. Secondly, we do want to continue to bring consistent service and support for the on-site staff. We've tried to support the 5 of you in various ways, and we certainly want to continue to be engaged with the residents. Third, I've already touched on this a moment ago, but we think that our focus on operating efficiency does help support your property values. We recognize the connection of the amenity management contract and operator with your property values in terms of the vibe, the lifestyle, people loving being here, but also the issue of the fiscal responsibility and the operating efficiency. It all ties together. It all benefits your property values. We recognize that connection very closely. And then lastly, again, as I've touched on, we care a lot about just having the residents be happy. I don't know if anything's more gratifying than to walk in and hear one of you say how well the event went, how well the wedding went. That's just music to our, that just makes all the hard work worthwhile. So we very much appreciate that. I would try to summarize and say, at times you've been candid. We use that word in our executive summary. At times you've been tough. I think we've needed it. I think residents have acknowledged that this morning, that we probably needed it. But other times you've been very supportive. You've always been very fair. That's probably all we can ask for. So we just very much appreciate this opportunity. So we'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Roy. Questions? Well, we don't have to ask you about hitting the street running on January 1st. Well,
And December 31st.
You're already running now.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to look in the rearview mirror forever. Julie comes in, and all of a sudden we're able to hire people. Why didn't that? We had a general manager that left in January. How come we had this lull that was so devastating to the running of this building, which you know
Right,
was
right.
was what stuck in my throat. You know that very well.
I'm happy to take a shot at that, but I think Ginger's probably more qualified to take a shot at it just because of the way my role changed within Vesta. But if I were to speak to it, Ginger, giving you a chance to think about your answer, I think a lot of a company's success comes down to leadership and not just management success. And I would say we probably had some challenges with the leadership turnover within Vesta, but once we turned it over to Julie, you saw the improvement. You folks have acknowledged that. That's my perspective, but my perspective is mostly from Jacksonville. I would care more about Ginger's perspective than mine.
It's the same answer. The processes from the corporate support services standpoint were no different. The reaction to those on site here, without speaking of the past, is what the main difference was. Julie's connections, her ability to see what was working with recruiting, where we were drawing from. She had put in recommendations prior to her arrival that weren't being acted upon. So it was just a confluence of things. But from the corporate perspective and what recruiting was doing and all the resumes and things that were being offered in a limited fashion, understanding what the labor market looked like out there, were just not being reacted to on a timely basis. Hindsight's wonderful. Wish we had known more about what wasn't being done at the time.
And again, without making it about too much about individuals or personalities, I think it's, even though we're on the record, we know we're on the record, Ginger, you and I have had a great working relationship with Rudy over the years. I mean, I've had a lot of respect for Rudy, but from where I was sitting, I would wish Rudy would have been a little more hands-on or a little more proactive or a little bit more engaged. But I don't know why that happened. Maybe there was something happening personally in his life that I think I may be aware of. But all I can say is, again, I saw a huge difference with Julie, and it speaks for itself.
We don't want to move backward in any way. We are looking to move forward and see things continue to improve and to see this building filled for dinners and events. 155 covers at dueling pianos, 350 for Thanksgiving, New Year's will be sold out, I'm sure. That's what we want to see continue in this process.
And I think when we see that happening, it goes back to the 2 points I tried to make, which one, it supports the district financially because people are using the facilities, they're generating revenue. And then secondly, it's an indication people are happy using the facilities. They're satisfied, they're pleased with the type of service. It's not just if you build it, will they come, but is the team serving them in a way that engages with them and draws them in? And that's our job, to do that.
My fellow supervisors.
Well, I'll start with a term that I like seeing. I was very impressed. You said service recovery. Okay, very impressive word. And it addressed the needs that we had, service recovery after what we went through. And you addressed that. Also, this has been a work in progress, okay? We had hiccups on our side, you guys had hiccups on your side. But you addressed those successfully, and I feel that the residents are happy, quite happy with your performance so far. Of course, we'll have a few complainers, but you get it. I like on page 11 of your proposal, okay? I wrote across the top of the page, Vesta gets it. It sets the guidelines for the receptionists at the front desk. I didn't see it with the others that submitted. Okay. Well, there's no question that I support retaining Vesta's services. And I also would encourage you to retain the services of Tennis Connections. They added to your whole success here at this operation. And Ginger brought up.
Well, I mean, she can talk to that. We were prepared, we had a slide or two on that. We would have gone, if you want to make that part of the Q&A, we can talk about that. But if you're happy, we're happy.
Okay, you didn't bring the cookies either this time. Yeah.
You remember that from 2 years ago? You brought the
that's
cookies.
That put it over the edge.
Yeah, that did.
Here's this. By December 31st, regardless of how you vote, we will bring you cookies.
The only complaint I've seen, experienced and or heard of in the last 2 or 3 months with the food and beverage is there are some evenings when food does not seem to come out of the kitchen in a proper time frame. And I know that happened, a month or two ago. Julie and Jeff I talked to, and it was an issue in the kitchen. We just recently got, and I hate to bring up one person complaints, but if one complains, maybe there's others. Are you addressing that? The getting the food out in a timely manner? That seems to be I don't hear complaints about the quality of the food or anything else. It's the timeliness of getting the food out. Can you speak to that at all?
If I may, board, we definitely are addressing it with Jeff, myself, Angela. Angela's our new food and beverage manager. She's been here for about 1 month. We definitely are addressing it. It's definitely a service thing, and no matter what, we will constantly be addressing that. And in this industry, there's never one time where everything's gonna be perfect and then everything's perfect forever. We have to be consistent and constantly addressing it. So we definitely are. And also, I think it's important to mention the right team. So the team had also been through some challenges, right, from February on. So it's important to know that we're supporting the team, adding to the team, additionally getting more people, and just industry-wide, it's a challenge in and of itself. It's amazing that the chef that we have has done what he's done and been successful with it, with one vested employee, and then using all of us to assist and some temp labor as well. So we are definitely addressing getting the food to the table, making sure not only for dining service, lunch service, the new tiki bar opening, we were just discussing yesterday, the hours of operation, because this isn't just decide something and walk away from it. I mean, we're gonna go to you guys and say, hey, new tiki bar, no one wants to go home at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. What time should we stay open till, so we can constantly make the service better and the offerings better and anything for the residents. And then also the events we do for the residents, and then the outside events. The outside events for the service as well, but also to make sure that we have the fiduciary responsibility that those are profit making, because why should we not be able to have you come to your club unless we're doing a profit making outside event that then you would agree, then the inconvenience of not coming to your club is relative, so.
You just answered my next question.
Oh, well, thank you.
No, that's perfect. It's the
Okay.
outside events that I think there's a concern on the board's part, and hopefully you're to make sure that these are truly profitable to our community.
And yeah, absolutely, and a performa for events, so we can look at you and say, hey, this is worthwhile. Or maybe it's not. I don't have that perfect answer right now, though I do have experience from my prior job with Vesta at West Shore Yacht Club. There was it's a similar question. Is it worthwhile for us to do outside events, or do we look at our membership? I mean, when everyone told me everyone's gone, but we did a meet the chef night and there's 250 people came. Then the dueling pianos, 150 people responded in 3 hours. I think even when everyone's gone, there's still a lot of people here to service, so.
Are you fully staffed in the kitchen right now?
I was gonna jump in and say that was part of the answer to the delays in getting the food out, but I trust your answer better than my own answer.
We are not. We always make sure we are though, meaning, I don't think you would ever know it if necessarily we were not. We are using temp labor, but we're using it, relatively and we're also all there as well. So for example, yesterday morning, you might not see it, but I'm preparing the desserts for brunch. Jeff is working on setting up the brunch. We're supporting chef, and that's what's important in the team. And when we talk about leadership, that's what leadership is. You're right there with your team in the battlefield, your battle buddies. I worked for the Army. You totally, understand that. So the answer is no. We're constantly working on it. Heather, for the last couple of days, and Heather's our regional lifestyle that is, supporting us as well. He has called probably 40 applicants to get interviews, to see if they're, interested in positions to try and recruit. And then we have our corporate HR recruiter as well, who's going out to different schools, Manatee Culinary School, a lot of the culinary schools in Tampa, Orlando, we're trying to actively pursue a sous chef right now, which is definitely challenging.
How come it's so challenging? I mean, we all go to other restaurants, though we can't see what's in the kitchen. As far as service is concerned, I was at a restaurant on Friday, they were banging into each other. They had so many servers on the floor. Why is it a challenge here? Are we not paying sufficiently? Is it a monetary thing?
My opinion why it's so challenging is because people can be a little more pick jobs. There's a lot of jobs out there. Some people have left the industry after COVID. It was challenging that for the industry. Restaurants have closed. I think we're still getting responses, so I know we're paying enough, that the salary's enough, but we're not limited to, we'll go to the budget, and Jeff and I will look at how we can work it out. If we had a candidate that would be of value for a little bit more money as a sous chef position. So it's a constant. So if I was to advise someone, I would say that the definite benefits, there's a lot of benefits when you've been a sous chef for a bit of time, and this is a great job because it's not like being in a regular restaurant where you're working, every Friday, Saturday night until 10, 11 o'clock at night. You're doing 300 covers. So I think it's a challenge just to find the right fit. We've had a couple, but our company is also dedicated to bringing the right people onto your homes here, right? So we do background checks, we do drug tests. A lot of places don't. You'd be shocked. A lot of places do not, but we are not bringing someone onto this property that, there could be any questionable thing. We're very dedicated to that. That's a challenge though. Yeah.
Mr. Small.
I can ask a lot or I can not. I'm going to preface my comments and questions with a statement to say, I will vote to retain Vesta. So we can get that, from my perspective, off the table. So now I want to ask how we're going to go forward with all of this. We had an updated strategic plan this year. Have any of you read it? You need to. If you don't have it, let me know. I will send it to you. In it, there's a lot about the River Club. There's a lot about KPIs and things that we are looking for to be measured, managed, updated, that need to be addressed. And I didn't bring it up in the last couple of months because I didn't know where we were going with all this. But under the assumption that you're going to continue managing, these things need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed early. Some of them should have already been done, but again, we didn't press it because we didn't know where we were going with all this. So please read it, think about it, ask. I was the liaison to that committee, so ask questions if you don't understand anything, but it needs to be addressed. There's a lot of things in there that do.
Can I interject real quickly and say, not only will we read it and consider it, I would say we need to be absolutely aligned with it. When you use the term KPIs or key performance indicators, that really helps us focus on our bullseye.
Sure.
So we would be absolutely aligned with that.
Well, and it asks for monthly reporting against that. So certainly by January 1st, a lot of that needs to be put into place. Now the question becomes, do you have the systems to measure what we're looking for? So that's another assessment that you would probably need to do internally. I got to tell you, and I asked one of the other companies about this. I know you guys use Easy Suites. It's kind of a mess. It's whether it's a system or whatever. But my questions to Dan every month raise things that say to myself, how could this not have been caught? I mean, basic stuff. So you guys internally need to think about that, because I'm sure you use it with all of your properties.
Actually, I don't think that's the case. We inherited that system here.
Oh, well, it should be canned.
I didn't pass judgment, we didn't pass judgment one way or the other about it. We inherited certain things here, we just tried to keep the train running.
Good, okay, well, it's coming off the tracks a bit. So, well, actually, I'm glad to hear that, because it tells me that you've got systems probably that you're using other places that will be more appropriate for us. And I think we'd be open to considering things like that. As I mentioned in one of the other, there's a lot of new technology out there in systems that can save time, efficiency, help your servers, help the kitchen probably, that we ought to be thinking about. So regarding the budget, I have concerns going into the year, looking at the September results and looking at the run rates on certain things that, and then Julie, I don't know how much you're going to still be involved here, but certainly you, Jeff, will be. I have concerns about some of the budget categories and where we're going to be with those over the next few months, because the run rates are very high. So that's a concern I have.
Jeff, I can pass this over to you next, but we did address a few of the concerns. Dan alerted us yesterday after the game. We went with him at length on, for example, are the cost of goods sold, is it a possible thing that we can go from 61 to 50? And we have identified many things. We are dedicated to making sure the system works for us. So as of today, actually, we have a person from Naples that had worked with Vesta coming up to assist, because for the Tiki Bar, we got cordless, wireless printers, wireless tablets, so you don't have to have the big POS. I mean, at least coming into the 2020s with some of that kind of stuff, I understand. But Jeff, did you want to say something?
Julie and I spent a good bit of time yesterday afternoon analyzing the results in anticipation of responding to your concerns. And we forwarded that to Dan, and I would assume that you've received that. But cost of sales, we do have some issues, but we have implemented a number of measures such as costing each and every menu item, what we refer to as standard recipe cards, where we identified very precisely exactly what each plate costs, so that we can therefore extend the selling prices appropriately and then incorporate the sales mix. We know that, for example, and without going into too much minutia, that a filet mignon costs a great deal more than a chicken breast. And so therefore we can balance the selling prices, sell the chicken for a little bit higher margin and sell the filet at a lower margin in order to make that cost or the selling prices more comfortable for the membership. We also have incorporated checkbook management, whereby we are now tracking our sales on a daily basis. We're also tracking our purchases on a daily basis. And we have a spreadsheet that calculates where we are on a day-to-day basis on cost of sales food. We've identified some issues that we've had, inefficiencies and inaccuracies in our prior inventory accounting and accountability. We're addressing those. We actually, Julie has made arrangements for a third party within Vesta's management team to come in and assist in our October inventory process so that we can identify and reinforce the discrepancies that we found in the post-Ian inventory.
We don't need to get into the solutions.
Yeah, we're working hard. We're working hard at it.
No, I appreciate that. And Julie, I hope you will continue to be as involved as you are, because I think that's helped the entire team.
Thank you. I definitely will do my best to, I don't want to promise, my boss is sitting right here. This is Ginger. I definitely, will not leave the team. This is my region. Heather is my partner. She's did the inventory last month as well. I mean, so we are dedicated. And as we train people and have good leaders here and get them set up for success, you'll see, because it's really not about Julie. It is so about the team and making sure we're setting everyone up for success. So thank you.
That's part of it.
Any other
I
questions?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that I think a lot of what everybody's speaking to, one of the big solutions will be stability, having a experience and quality each other, providing for better evaluation, and then the consistency that comes along with that, and then ultimately improvement. Since last year when we came on, I know if Jill's still out there, this young lady has asked me about how to analyze your outside play, the weddings and the parties, and whether or not this community is subsidizing those parties, or whether, they're a benefit to the community. Julie just mentioned that. I know Supervisor Smaha, we talked in the past about software and the benefits of more accurate reporting. We look forward to that because those are challenges we like to take on. And having a stable team and having a satisfied customer base provides the opportunity for us then to sharpen the pencils and become a little better. And that's what we like to pride ourselves on. So that is our hope, that we can improve. And when you tell me that this is now running like what we all see as the model of a true country club, with the membership supporting it, not going to the local bars and restaurants because they prefer to see all their friends here. As Roy said, that speaks music to our ears. That's why we're all in this business. We do it for the love of the game. And we hope to have the opportunity to show you that even more.
Any other questions? Ernest, you good?
Yes.
Rick? Yes. Steve? Ken? Good. Okay. Then I'll say thank you very much for you guys coming back in again. Appreciate it.
Protocol or order of is what? Just leave the room for a while and.
If you choose, but you're going to be notified either way.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I think it was interesting that I wasn't really surprised that Castle supported Vesta, because Castle is part of the same parent company as Vesta. So I wasn't surprised to hear that. I think there was also an endorsement, what I heard, from Rosetta.
Yes.
Which, that kind of surprised me a lot. I can't deny that there has been a noticeable improvement in many, many things that we see at this club. And with that said, I have no problem in proposing a motion that we accept the RFP from Vesta and we continue with them.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion. I'll make a motion that we accept Vesta as our management company.
I second.
Now we can discuss. Okay. Here's the thing that still sticks in my throat. And I told Roy that, this isn't the first time we've had this conversation. I hate to say they have to be kept on a short leash, because that's probably not appropriate to say, but that is an actuality. We, once they were told that we were not going to accept mediocre or poor service, things change dramatically. So as long as I remain on the board, and you've got me for at least the next 2 years, as long as I remain on the board, I'm going to keep a close eye on everything. And I think until I'm comfortable that they're actually doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. That's just my feeling. However, again, I made the motion that they be continued, and I'm not changing.
No, I think that's the right approach. There's no question they stepped up, and I give them a lot of credit for that. They
Without a
could have
doubt.
just, written it in.
It's, we have to, I guess, eventually separate personality from performance. I think Julie has been such an asset to what has happened. And with that, she's brought in a variety of people, including Jeff. And I have a great deal of respect for Jeff as well. We've had, as many of us have probably had many conversations with him. I see a future.
Yep.
But we're gonna keep it on.
We as a board have to figure out what we want to be, what we want to be as a community going forward, because I think that's a big part of it. We're tough. We're a tough community. And I've heard it from other vendors about doing business with us.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Well, there are, and not just
And
moving.
not everybody can handle it.
Not just moving parts, but differentiation. I've made the point numerous times, I think we have a very diverse socioeconomic group of residents here who don't all want the same thing. So how do we address all of that and still make enough people happy that we're doing our jobs? Because you're not gonna please everybody, there's no question about that.
No, and, you know, as I said to Ernest before, you're as good as your last game. There will still be concerns. We know there's gonna be concerns. There'll be a dinner that comes out cold or comes out late or is wrong or whatever it might be. That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. There'll be screw-ups, but again, there's a lot of moving parts here.
But there's also how we respond and react to that.
Right.
Knowing that we're short-staffed, we should go in kind of expecting some of that and be patient enough to accept some of that. I think we have residents who aren't willing to do that. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
I think you hit it on when you mentioned the strategic plan. I think that sets us up and sets them up for having a way to keep track of what's going on, much better than we've done before.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's some things that we have to do, but there's as you mentioned, there's quite a few things that Vesta will have to do.
Yeah.
But I think that gives us a real good blueprint, direction, the way to go.
It's also encouraging that we have people with skills that Ken has, as well as I anticipate from Cheryl to, from a fiscal point of view, to keep them.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Okay, but there's, going back to what Ken said, something is wrong, or it's the nature of the beast, or lack of better words, as to why we only receive three responses to this.
I know that you're disappointed in that, but the most we've ever gotten, in my memory, is 4. The most we've ever gotten. When Icon was here and we looking into getting another company. I believe we had 4 respondents, and one of them, there was 5, but one breached the cone of silence. So we were down to 4. So the first time we put this out in July, we had 4 then, right? We had 3. Had 3 again. I think it's the nature of the beast here.
That's what I said, it's the nature of the beast. And, you know, I did some follow-up with one of the major restaurant owners in this area. And there was a reluctancy on their part to get involved with these facilities because of the attitudes. I don't have.
What were they concerned over?
Well, the complaints that the Venetian residents are noted for, and that it would affect their core business if they got involved here. But we have discriminating residents, and I appreciate their taste. That's why they live here in the Venetian. So it's first class. But going back, this is a 3-year contract, you guys realize.
They all have a 60-day out.
Yeah,
So
60-day out,
they
but-
guaranteed us a price for 3 years.
Right, and we can prepare it how we want, but historically, we've done it as a 3-year contract with auto renewals with a 60-day out on our end and a 90-day on theirs.
So we're covered all around. I mean, I don't want to do this month after month after month.
Much fun as it is.
No, we need to 6 months from now, do a reassessment of services or something.
That's built into the strategic.
Built into the strategic plan, so that will happen.
I just want to make sure.
We have to stay on top of it.
Yes.
The board has to stay on top.
Absolutely, we need to stay on top of
Yes.
this. Again, short leash, but everybody understands, I think, what I mean by that.
Well, I'll make a comment to you, because you're gonna hear the brunt of it. It's totally appropriate that you listen to comments, complaints, suggestions from residents. But the bottom line is, you're running the River Club. Don't assume they're right. Don't automatically, jump and, to what they have to say, unless you believe it, and it's consistent with our budget, it's consistent with your operations. And if there are issues, questions, concerns, come to the board, come to board members. Because ultimately, A, you're responsible to the board, but B, you have an obligation and a job to do. And we're not all right.
No.
No, I understand that completely, sir.
You have to discern.
Any other comments?
I have a comment. I've been kind of quiet during the discussion here and listening. I would say that I hope we're not naive to think that everything is perfect, and I think I've heard that said here. There are still plenty of residents that feel like service is not good, quality of food is not so good. And just because we have a nice buffet at a very inexpensive price, buffet is much different than a dining service. I think the telling factor for me at least is when these folks were put on notice, they could have abandoned us, and they didn't. They stepped up big time, and they kept continuing to try to improve. And I just hope that's the case going forward. And I do think that the strength of what's all happened here is Julie. She really has brought a lot of things here. I mean, she and I are almost on speed dial with some issues with the Kiki. And she and I think Jeff is coming along, are very committed to the success of this club. And I think the other part is why are we having trouble attracting service? Remember, we're only open certain hours. And so that's, I think, part of the mix here also.
Definitely could be. Yeah. Okay, do we want to call the issue?
Call the issue.
Okay.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
Okay.
carries, all in favor.
So unless there's some different direction, I'll prepare a contract along the terms of what we've always had in place.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And you don't have to include cookies in it. I mean, that's.
No, I'm good, I'm good.
Okay.
I'll leave that in.
Andy, if,
Leave the
if
cookies.
if you haven't said it in the past, I think there should be something in there that talks to operating under the guidelines of our strategic
I
plan.
think it is, but I will make sure that I check on that.
Okay.
Because I think we added it the last time when we did the scope. The last time when we
It wasn't
included
a
it,
scope in the RFP, yeah.
right, and when we included the contract in the last go-around, which we did not this time, I think we incorporated it, but thank you, I will double check that. Ken.
Okay. So moving forward with the agenda, supervisors, the next item on the agenda is item number 6A, which is the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on August 22nd, 2022. These are behind tab number 4 for your review. Does anybody need a break?
I do.
I don't understand, like, do
You
you
want-
want to take a break?
Why don't we take a break?
Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break at 11:30. record at 11:47 a.m. So we do have item number 6A next, which is the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on August 22nd, 2022. These are behind tab number 4 for your review. Are there any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as presented?
I have no additional changes.
I move we approve.
Second.
There's a motion by Rick, second by Ken. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item number 5B, which is the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on September 12th, 2022. These are behind tab number 5 for your review. Are there any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as presented?
I have no additional changes.
If there are no questions, comments, and/or changes, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
Move.
There's a
Second.
motion by Ken, second by Rick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're now moving forward with consent items. We do have 3 items for your consent. These are behind tab number 6 for your review. These are being presented for your acceptance. We do have the minutes of the Facilities Advisory Committee meeting minutes of August 1st and September 6th, 2022. Pool and Fitness Advisory Committee meeting minutes of August 17th, Social and Dining for May 11th, 22. There are no questions. We'd be looking for a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisor requests or comments? Are there any supervisor requests or comments?
I'll bring everybody up to date on a couple things. One, at last week's Reserve and Finance Committee meeting, took a look at sources of revenue. And I think these balances, I think Jerry sent them to you, Linda. Are his numbers correct? We went over them at the meeting. I think they are. Available balance in the general fund is $248,000 and change, and available balance in the River Club Capital Fund is $130,000 and change. So combining them together, it's about $400,000 that is there. And what was discussed at the committee was the possibility of these funds being unencumbered funds in a sense, that they could be used for hurricane cleanup, because as Belinda stated earlier, this cleanup is going to be a 6-figure item. There's no question about that. So we do have some money in a couple of places. Any questions on that?
I did have something to add for the recommendation. I mean, at this point, we really haven't paid major invoices as of yet, but we would continue to pay whatever needs to be paid out of the general fund.
Right.
These accounts are not checking accounts, so we would just simply transfer funds over from this account back to the general fund if need be.
Right. There was a feeling on one member of the committee that it was a checking account kind of thing. It's become clear that it's not. The other members of the committee, I think, were aware that it wasn't. But as Belinda stated, it's a transfer of funds and handle that. There's a sign out in front of the driveway to the River Club that the city council is going to be meeting tomorrow to deal with pickleball, and that's not true. They put that sign out there, I guess, but they never sent notices around to anybody. But either way, the continued discussion with respect to pickleball is somewhere down the line, because we're still dealing with an appeal that was filed by a resident with the water district. So Swift Mud was going to hear that appeal, and then the hurricane hit, and now they put it off. The city council is saying, we don't want to hear your case until Swift Mud signs off on it. So the whole thing is tied up in a knot because there had been an appeal filed by a resident. An appeal with Swift Mud and then an appeal with the city of Venice. Swift Mud has to be accomplished first, and then the city of Venice after that. You should know also that on, so we could go tomorrow, code enforcement was here, and a pickleball demonstration took place on the tennis court. And with code enforcement here and using their decibel equipment, they were getting numbers that were somewhere in the high 40s, low 50s, which is well below the acceptable level, well below. So as far as, and keep in mind that this demonstration was conducted without any sound abatement material on the fencing. It was done on the tennis court. No sound abatement material on the fencing and no landscaping put in to deaden the sound also. It was just out there. So the officer that came by, Willie Acosta, I believe was his name, said that there is no violation here whatsoever, that there are many other things that make a lot more noise than pickleball does. He pointed to just moving traffic down the street is noisier than pickleball. So we have had questions brought to this board about, did you do a test? Well, having code enforcement here, I think is a reasonable answer to that question. They're the people that would come out and issue a summons if this activity happened to be above acceptable levels, and it is not. So I just wanted everybody to know about that. There's also a video that took place while this was all going on. Rick has a copy of that video. I have a copy of that video as well. Ernest, only one of us could be there, right? One of the supervisors could be there. Ernest was there for the demonstration. And I don't know if he has anything else to add to it.
No, I did the video, and the appellants or appeal individuals were present, the resident as well as the other party. And the officer said it was well below the permitted sound for the activities that we videoed. There was discussion with regards to possibly moving the site 20 yards over or closer to the building as an alternative site, which would have been acceptable to the appellant. But that's something that we should possibly discuss at a later date. But I don't know where we're going. It just seems like it's never ending, and there are costs associated with this. There are costs associated with the attorneys that we've hired, and it's just never ending because of this one party.
Also, I'll add to that a little bit. I've reached out on 2 occasions and gotten no response whatsoever from the person who filed the appeal. There was a response made by that person to come to the pickleball demonstration, the sound demonstration that took place, and they were there, he was there. But since then, though he's been encouraged to have some conversation with me, that hasn't happened yet. It could happen. I'm still hopeful that it will happen. But right now, I would say the earliest that SwiftMud is going to deal with this situation is going to be maybe January. And that would mean the city council would come after that. So that's kind of where we are.
Rich, I just don't understand why our attorney can't make a request to accelerate up the time with regards to a hearing for this complaint.
I can ask him that. But he indicated to me that it was so convoluted now with the delays, SwiftMud pushed it off. Also, the person who had filed the appeal, I don't know if they have answered all of the interrogatories that are involved in this in a timely fashion. So that could be holding it up as well. I don't know. But this, I don't have to explain to you what goes on when something goes to court. You understand all of that. And from having been there, I understand that as well. But I'm not sure if the person who filed the appeal maybe they thought it was sort of like appearing on Judge Judy. You just walk in with your papers and you present the case. And it's not like that at all. Isn't that true, Mr. Cohen?
It is not like that.
It's not like that at all.
For good and for bad.
But we should press it upon our attorney that time is of the essence.
I can reach out to them on
And
that.
let them,
I can do that. That's all I have.
Probably low priority to them.
yeah, I'm sure.
It is a low priority with them, yes. Anybody have anything else?
I have a tiki hut situation. We've authorized the pavers to come in, okay? We need to authorize the landscaping funds to re-landscape once the pavers are complete.
Do you have an estimate?
That's supposed
Well,
to come
Bill
today,
was
right?
supposed to have been here today. He said he would come to the meeting and have it ready for us. Rick, you said you were gonna look
I'll
for
reach
it.
out to him and we'll
Okay.
get something.
Do we think that it's within the chairman's range, or is it gonna be above that, or?
I suspect it's gonna be above.
Above 5,000?
Oh, really?
I'm guessing.
Look at those papers.
I'm guessing. I mean, what's the paper price?
11.8, I believe.
A lot of paper work to be done. So I don't know the answer to it.
Has there been a decision about what kind of plantings are gonna go in?
Well, I didn't have anything to do with the landscaping and the pavers. So I was under the impression that the landscape committee looked at all of this and they had a plan, and evidently Bill feels that way also.
I don't think it's gonna be above the, Mr. Bracco's.
Spending limit?
Yes, I can't see that that's gonna be that expensive. The areas that we're redoing.
We should be able to take care of it that way.
All right, well,
Yeah.
all right, so that's fine. All right, the second issue is the televisions for out there. We had intended to deal with Best Buy, and Ernest, you had some fellow come by.
Fellow, vendor.
A vendor, okay, well,
Contractor.
you wanna know what did he quote you?
He presented a proposal for 3 different size screens. His proposal was based upon outdoor specific TVs, which have and I don't recall the measure of, or units of measure that he cited, but TVs that are specifically designed for outdoor use have a much higher resolution, and they're considerably brighter than your off-the-rack TV. And he presented 3 different configurations, one being with a 75-inch in the center and 2 65s on either side, the other being with a 75 in the center and 2 55s on either side. They were going to be depending upon the selection, in the neighborhood of about $12,000 plus $800 installation.
That's a little pricey.
That's what I.
When you consider that the size of those TVs that you're discussing, you can buy a 75-inch TV for $1,000 or so. And the 50-inch TVs, you can pick them up for
Well,
$400.
Let me shed a little more light on this. This fellow is quoting these rated outdoor TVs.
Right.
My recommendation is we go with a standard TV. I mean, you can buy 5 of these. So
Correct.
we'll spend what's reasonable. I mean, I'm uncomfortable spending $13,000-14,000 on TVs out there. That just doesn't seem to make.
That makes no sense at all with the cost of these items substantially lower. And in my opinion, I mean, I have a TV outside my house. It's just a regular TV that got moved out there. And it's doing just fine.
Okay, all right, we'll take care of it.
He put 2 outside mine.
I'm sorry?
I said I have 2.
Yeah.
Outside. And they're in excellent shape. They didn't cost that much because the size was 45 inches.
Well, we will get the appropriate size and the appropriate location of the TVs out there. Okay. All right.
One of the things I forgot, was there any other, I sent around the upcoming newsletter. I did get a couple of changes, Andy. Thank you for, reading it so very closely. Any other changes, anything that needs to be? Good, okay. I don't have anything else.
Any other supervisor requests or comments?
I have one issue concerning the Fitness and Pool Committee. We have a member of that committee who has failed to attend in excess of 5 meetings during the course of the calendar year. And the committee members at the last meeting voted to recommend that that person be terminated from the committee. The person's name is Frank Buttry, Butry, and I would be would like to make a motion today to do that, so.
I don't have it with me, but it's my recollection, because Belinda asked me about this. Take a look at the charter, and I believe that the charter provision was exactly that, which is if you miss more than 4 meetings, then the committee can make a recommendation to this board for removal. So I think that's why it's being brought forward, but I just want to memorialize that.
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna bring that name forward, can it be done now, or?
Sure. Yes. Okay. Yes. So I make a motion to terminate Frank Buttry from the membership on the Fitness and Pool Committee due to excessive absences.
I'll second that.
Remove instead of terminate?
Terminate. No, what is it? Remove.
Yeah, you're serious.
Okay.
Has anybody reached out to him?
Yeah, I did. I've said, yes.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Third second.
Richie seconded.
I second.
Any further discussion?
You don't want to be terminated.
All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Okay, I'm crossing him off the list and I'll make the change.
I'll place the appointment on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes.
And then I'll ask
We
Keith to
are
send out a
looking for
communication.
members.
We have to know what his term may be expiring at the end of this year. We don't know that right now.
We don't.
I would need to, I'm not sure if I can log in right now, but,
I don't have my list with me.
Yeah, I've got it at home.
yeah, I can't log in, but I
No
can
big deal
double
about
check.
that. No big deal.
I move we adjourn.
Oh, I have one other. No, look, be nice.
Okay.
Be nice. Okay. And I want to recognize Dave Friedman's efforts in cleaning up the court and the tennis courts and all the work he's done, lacking a staff member. And we have somewhat of a volunteers from our residents, Billy Latchman, Tim Carr, Mark Faber, as well as Paul Ryan, who have assisted in the cleanup and maintaining the tennis courts. These residents have stepped up and provided services that we normally would go out and pay for. So I would like to recognize them and thank them for their efforts.
Okay.
That's it.
One other comment. I want to commend Dan, your maintenance fellow. This fellow is just a gem to have here. He goes around, fixes things. He's very, very helpful and very appropriate.
Well, thank you. Yes, he is.
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Didn't forget.
Second.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 12:06 PM. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank you.
day.